Raising puppies is a lot of work, but living with teenagers can really make you question your sanity. Teenagers are notorious for being easily excitable. It can seem like the smallest of things gets them so excited that they're barking and pulling at the end of the leash. Maybe they can't take food from you anymore. And maybe they can't respond to cues that you feel like they really know. While this is normal for adolescents, it's really important that we identify this as a problem and start working towards solutions to help our dogs gain more skills to make dealing with this excitability a little more reasonable. I'm Chelsea with Positive Futures Dog Training and Behavior, and not only have I helped lots of clients raise teenager dogs, but I'm currently living with one myself. So while I play this game with my dog, I figured I'd show you what this is all about. While we do have a video on this before, the Jazz Up Settle Down game, this is a new look at a great game that you can play with your dog daily. It'll help your dog gain skills on how to relax and focus, even when things get exciting. It can also help your dog learn how to self-regulate, so when those big emotions are starting to happen, they've got more tools and they know that relaxation and focus is a very rewarded and reinforced behavior. Let's take a look at this fun game. So, in order to play this really fun game that teaches our dog all about arousal and excitability, and most importantly, how to calm back down even when they've got those big emotions, we're gonna need 3 things that your dog knows already in order to then implement all of those skills into this game. The first thing you're gonna need is some way to interact and play with your dog. Obviously, there is a limitless amount of ways that you can engage with your dog. It could be playing fetch, could be tug, it could be playing with a flirt pole, could be some body play where you get down and play a little tug. It's up to you on how you want. We just want to make sure that your dog already knows how to play this game and that they think it's pretty fun. The second thing we're gonna need is a way to interrupt your dog. If the way that you're playing with your dog involves a toy, your word could be drop. That's a nice way to stop the behavior and get that toy back from your dog before moving on to the next step. You'll also see here that I'm going to use a positive interrupter. So this is just a word that's been paired with food, and you can find a link to that up here. It's a way to teach our dogs that fun things are happening and they should start paying attention to us. It's a nice way to interrupt behavior without creating any fear or stress. The third thing you're gonna need to play this game with your dog is some form of a relaxation type behavior. 3 ways that I generally play with this. I can either use a settle on a mat behavior, a go to place behavior, or I can use simply a sit stay with them or a down stay, or I could use take a breath. So as you can see, there's lots of different ways that we can pair these 3 things, but the most important pieces are that we've got a way to engage with our dog, we've got a way to interrupt that play, and then we've got a third way that we can reinforce some form of calming behavior with the dog. So as we're starting to play this game with our dog, we want to let our dog know that we're open for play, right? The game has started and we're going to engage with them. After a short amount of play, we're going to interrupt that behavior, and then we're going to redirect them towards our third or our calming behavior. So as you can see here, I'm getting Daisy excited about this game of fetch. I want her to be jazzed. I want to see that body moving and see her engaged. I'm then going to use my positive interrupter. As you can see, I've grabbed her attention here, and then I want to redirect her towards her settle mat, where she's going to earn some reinforcement for hanging out on the bed for a short period of time. Then we interrupt our settle behavior, or she's released with a release cue, and we go back to the game of fetch. Now, it's really important in the beginning of this game that you don't get them too jazzed up. The longer you play the game, the more excited they're going to be, which makes interrupting that play and then relaxing much harder for them. So it's really important as you play this game, you observe with your dog. If you notice that your dog is starting to get a little too jazzed up, maybe we're seeing some vocalizations, your dog is jumping at you, or even starting to tug on clothes, that's a good indication that play has gone on too long and arousal is a little higher than we want it to be. Interrupt that play and redirect your dog to their relaxation activity of settle, place, or take a breath. The more excited or aroused they are, the longer we're going to need to play this relaxation component of the game before going back. If you've noticed signs of that increased arousal during play, I recommend decreasing the duration of your play the next time you go back to the game. This way you're helping set your dog up for success. It's a really fine balance that we want to play of getting them a little excited, but not too much, interrupting, and then helping them calm back down. We want that reinforcement to happen as they calm down, as their heart rate slows, and as they're taking that deep breath. This way they learn how valuable relaxation can be. For our teenagers or our adolescents that really struggle with excitability, I like to play this game in lieu of playing fetch. I don't just go in the backyard and run them, because all this does is increase arousal. And in order to really tire them out, you're gonna have to run them until they're completely exhausted and they just wanna sleep. Not only is this dangerous for them, but think about what kind of behavior they're rehearsing. High arousal. We want to make sure that we're giving our dogs skills, and playing a game like this every time you want to go and interact and tire them out is a really great way not only to tire the brain and the body, but to give them some really important life skills. Now, let's troubleshoot and go over some of the common errors that I see with clients. One common mistake I see is that the toy value or the game value and the treat value are not comparable. We need to make sure that your dog wants both that toy and your food. So play around with values of both. You might need to decrease the value of the toy. You might need to increase the value of your treat. We want to make sure that your dog wants both equally in order to play this game. The second most common mistake that I see with people is that they engage in play for way too long. If you're seeing vocalizations, dilated pupils, a tongue lolling out the side of the mouth, maybe they can't drop when you ask them to, or they're jumping and redirecting towards you with biting and tugging on clothes. These are all signs that you've gone on for way too long. Now, the tricky thing is that the right amount of play, duration-wise, varies from dog to dog. So you need to observe your dog, notice those subtle changes in body language so that you can determine when it's gone on a little too long. The third most common mistake that I see with clients is that we haven't properly established our relaxation component. Take a breath, go to place, settle on a mat, sit, stay, down, stay. These are skills that are already going to be harder for the dog, and especially in this situation where we are comparing it to play, it's so much more boring for our dogs. So we really need to make sure that we're setting our dogs up for success by practicing this skill at home and really reinforcing it well before we try to add it into this game, because it's going to be harder for your dog. The fourth most common mistake that I see is that we're not reinforcing the behaviors enough. If your positive interrupter is new, if your drop is on the newer side, you need to make sure that you're reinforcing your dog with food for those skills. We also need to make sure that our rate of reinforcement is high enough for our relaxation component. So if you're asking your dog to take a breath, do it frequently and pay them generously. If you're asking your dog to settle, really make sure that you are dishing food out directly to them where they don't have to move, it's coming directly to them, and it's coming frequently enough that your dog wants to stay there. The longer you have practiced your relaxation component, the more you'll be able to space out how frequently those treats are given. But we want to make sure in the beginning that it's really, really good for your dog so that your dog wants to stay in that relaxation component. Now, the super cool thing about this game is there's so many variations that you can do. So depending on what your dog likes for play, depending on which relaxation component you can practice, even with one dog, we can play lots of different variations of this game. As your dog gets more advanced, you can start increasing the duration of play. Remember that the longer you play, the higher arousal is going to go, the more excited your dog is going to get, which makes it harder for your dog to be interrupted and then relax. So challenge them as they become a little more experienced with this game. The other way that you can bridge this game out and challenge your dog to help them generalize is taking it on the road. Try practicing at a new park on a quiet day. Grab a long line and those treats, and by practicing in a new environment with new smells and new distractions, you're helping your dog generalize that no matter where they are, engaging with me is great, and you can still relax even after getting excited. I hope that helps give you some creative ways that you can play with your dog. If you like this idea, please feel free to let us know. You can share it with a friend or drop a comment in the comment section below. And if you're struggling with your teenager, which, let's face it, all of them generally struggle with excitability and impulse control, I recommend that you check out this playlist right here for some more ways that you can train your dog and help them learn what we want from them. Happy training!